Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves and you've been gathering a few nuggets of inspiration over the last few days. My name's Simon Gislamberti. I'm the Director of Business Operations for Tech Systems. We're partners in transformation and a leader in full stack technology services, talent services, and real world application. We're 80,000 strong. We work with 6,000 customers globally throughout North America, Asia, and Europe. And we're proud to deliver expertise to address customers' concerns, both through strategy, implementation, and talent needs. We've been a proud sponsor of the Triad Digital Conference for the last 6 years. And I guess I'll start with a shout out to Flywheel. They've done an amazing job, an incredible job of bringing this together, putting it together under the circumstances. It's clear through their innovation, their technology, and creativity, we're sharing time together. So thank you to Flywheel. I know there's a lot of other partners joining today that have made this event possible, so we certainly want to thank them. Without those sponsors, this wouldn't be possible. I know my partners alongside of me today, Trey Miller and Mary Carr Cook. We've certainly enjoyed our limo ride over. I was told that we arrived in a limo. It was chock full of caviar and champagne, so we'll see how the next 30 minutes goes, but thanks to the folks at Flywheel. Also a special shout out to Rob Robles, who's in the studio with us today. Rob is the founder of the Triad Digital Conference, has obviously put thousands and thousands of hours into this, and without his support, his effort, his dedication to this wouldn't be possible. So we appreciate you bringing the technology community together. Very well done. So I'm joined today by, again, my friends Trey Miller from Loft and Mary Carr Cook-Moore from the Tech Systems Digital Services team, and I'd love for them to introduce themselves.
Sure. Thanks, Simon. Well, I won't repeat everything Simon said, but thanks, Rob, and thanks to Flywheel for putting this event together. Loft has sponsored the event. We've only been in business for 2 years, but I think somehow we've sponsored 3 years, so I'm not sure how we did that. But Loft is a digital property management company. So if you think of what a property management company does in real estate world, a general contractor builds your house at the beach, and then you hire a property management company to market it, to take care of the cleaning service, take care of turning the keys every week. A traditional software development team typically builds software, but when the project's done, somebody has to manage and maintain the software, and that's where Loft comes in. So we kind of see ourselves as handling everything after launch.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm Mary Carr Cook. As Simon mentioned, I'm with Tech Systems. I'm within our Digital and Creative Services division. Right now, we're partnering with clients to help augment, enhance, and accelerate their digital transformation efforts. We are operating within about 400 digital marketing organizations and digital marketing business units. We've got a workforce over about 1,700 people. So we're happy to be here. I've been involved with the conference for 6 years now as well, so it's been really exciting to see all this evolve.
Wonderful. Thanks. So we're going to spend the next few minutes just sharing our thoughts on some of today's sessions, the ideas that were shared. And Trey, I'd love to start with you, get your thoughts on some of your takeaways.
Yeah, I've enjoyed several of the sessions. I don't have a real design background or sort of have any experience in that area, so I've enjoyed learning a little bit about what's going on in the user experience world. But I think I'd get in trouble with my other co-founders if I didn't mention the session that Marty Balkema just did. He's runs our operations at Loft, and I thought he did a great job just kind of building on that concept of what happens after launch. I think his talk was called Launch is Only the Beginning. And I love a couple things that stood out. Number one, this idea that really is kind of the founding principle behind our company is that a lot of times in a software development project, you spend months and years putting budgets and teams together, you set milestones, and when you finally launch the product, you tend to think of that as the end of the process, but it's really just the beginning, because then you have a lot to think about in terms of managing and maintaining things. And Loft has built a team that's just really devoted to mending and optimizing things, whereas a lot of engineers and software engineers in particular tend to be makers and really like to move on from one project to the next. We're that company that likes to just keep things running as well as they can run, and especially in these days of change on top of change, we have I think a unique role to play with our customers' projects. So that's probably the big standout.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Marty.
Wonderful. Love it. Mary Carr, how about you?
Yeah, one of the biggest standouts for me was much of Steve Stone's discussion when he talks about investing in digital technology. Everything he spoke to is relevant to, as we talk about our customers. Our customers are always on, they're always connected. And it's just, we need to start centering our business operations and our organizations to align with what our customers are wanting to do. Our strategies shouldn't be driven by what we want to do. Our organizational strategies need to be driven to adapt to our ever-changing customers. So Steve talked about a lot of those investments that help enhance that, and I found all that really interesting, especially being in the digital space at Tech.
Yeah, without a doubt. Great. Yeah, for me it was John Baggiano and his presentation from Everblue. Anytime somebody starts talking about hiring, attracting, retaining talent, I'm all ears, and so I really appreciated John's perspective, talking about really truly defining the why, the value in that, really understanding your ability to, when that is crystal clear, your ability to attract talent, really connect with the people that you're bringing into the organization, and then ultimately retaining those folks. So John, I thought, did a great job. You talk about hiring, attracting talent, and then you throw in the word play, or the concept of play, and again, I was a real sucker for that. So it's something that we practice inside of our culture and in our environment, and it just really resonated with me. So that was something that I took away. Thanks, John. And John, for the record, I can draw, I can dance, I just don't do it well. So if you were wondering, growth mindset. Today we heard a lot about digital investments around experience design as well as innovation, all of which lead to changes inside organizations. Trey, I guess this question's for you. What are some of the most critical changes organizations are making to face the future of technology from your perspective?
I'm hesitant to mention this because it's so obvious, but I'm afraid if I don't mention it, we'll miss kind of an opportunity to chat about what's been going on over the last few months. And I think the biggest change that every organization has had to work through is sort of the transformation to a remote work environment. I mean, 99% of the companies in the world have relied traditionally on some sort of traditional office setup where maybe the best way to measure performance is to walk up behind somebody and see what they're working on. And if they look busy, they're probably performing. If they don't, then you can wonder, whether they need to be in that seat or not. And honestly, I think because of that sort of informal way of measuring performance, a lot of companies for years and years have been afraid of or hesitant to explore work from home and remote work opportunities. I think of rare exceptions like the team at Basecamp that's been built from day one as a remote team. They're a software development company out of Chicago building a really fantastic project management tool by the same name. And they've written a lot over the years about how they're actually a stronger and better team because of their remote way of working. And so obviously this was a non-event for them. I think the biggest deal for them was they did have some office space in Chicago that was coming up for release, and they decided not to renew that. So even a fully remote team like them is going through some change, a little bit of change. But I've watched our clients, I should say I'm a co-founder at Loft, but I'm also CEO of Triad Tech Services here, based in Greensboro, serving Winston and High Point as well. We're a managed IT service, kind of a full service IT department for smaller and medium-sized businesses. And so, both on the Loft side with software development, but also at TTS, watching our clients go through that transition to work from home. It's been really fascinating to study the ones that have done it well and the ones that have struggled. And I think we all have a lot to learn still, but it's been, I think, an exciting challenge. And ultimately, what I've seen is a lot of companies, necessity is the mother of invention, and so I haven't seen a company yet, at least within our direct circles, that is sort of on a course to failure because they couldn't figure out the remote work thing. There are a number of threats to essentially every business that's trying to survive today. But from my experience, the transition to remote hasn't been a major threat. It's just a new opportunity to learn how to work differently and work better.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think we're feeling that as well, right? And those that have been able to make that transition will certainly come out the better based off of their levels of productivity, engagement from the folks at home.
Yep.
So that's great. Following up on that, Mary Carr, I guess the next question I have: what industries are you currently seeing from your lens that are ahead of the game in terms of making some of these technology advancements, or specifically even the work from home?
I think one of the most important ones to me that I feel as though is doing it really well is our healthcare industry. They're making strong advancements to improve the patient experience. You can think about telemedicine, AI-enabled medical devices, blockchain, electronic medical records. All of those things are helping and enabling hospitals and clinics to talk about preventative care. There's big data analysis with some predictive analytics that are allowing them to, talk about and focus on, future admission rates and things like that. And all of those things, in my opinion, lead to how they can enhance and allocate staff to better work with their patients. And think about how much control we want over our healthcare as well. I think about people in my generation, our parents are getting older, and we want access to that information so that we can help make better decisions for them in times when maybe they can't make them for themselves. I think about mobile enablement for scheduling and things like that. So I really do feel like the healthcare industry is making some of, maybe not necessarily always ahead of the game, but some of the most important advancements in investing in digital technology.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What key investments and this is a question really for both of you, but I'm just curious to see, what key investments do organizations need to make, just regardless of the industries, right? Like where do you see them putting their money, and what are those investments specifically?
Do you want to go?
Oh, sure. Well, back to my point about remote work, I think there's, on the technical side, I think most folks have the sort of the bare necessities in place to be able to survive. I think, to really transform the processes and the culture around the way they work is probably going to be the next and long-term step. I think as things reopen over the next, who knows whether it's going to be 3 months or 3 years, but as we return to whatever some new normal is, I think there's a huge opportunity to try to take the best of what you've learned from the transition to remote and to use that to build more resilience into the organization, certainly across the technology end of the business, but like I said, I think the harder part is the people and process and sort of broader cultural forces at work that might be a barrier to doing remote or some sort of alternative work style over the long term.
Yeah. We talked about this. We had an opportunity to just chat about this briefly yesterday afternoon, and I thought, Marty, not to plug Loft again, but Marty, great job. Marty, I know, talked a lot about just the onboarding and adoption of technology, and it's crazy to think that 3 months ago, we've had WebEx, we've had Teams, we've had these collaboration tools inside of our environment for many years, but it was 3 months ago that all of a sudden there was a rapid need to adopt these technologies, to become fluent in these technologies, to really embrace these technologies, and there was a significant learning curve there as well. So I think it's spot on, whether it's brand new technology, innovative technology that's getting introduced into the environments, or technology that's just been there, but we're now having to adjust as a result of the times and the circumstances. Mary Carr, thoughts on that? You've been on the backside of that, right? As we've worked together.
I think internally it's we've had to adapt to those things. We've had to utilize those tools more than ever. One, to keep our culture alive as an organization, And the more our culture is kept alive via some of these collaboration tools, I think that it helps us better service our customers and be there for our customers and our consultants as they go through some of these similar transformations internally and things like that. So yeah, it's been amazing to see just for myself and tech and the team that I work with, how we embrace those. And I think that if you're not embracing them, it's going to be really challenging for you in the next couple of years. And so it's just really important to evolve and change and be open to doing that for sure.
Yeah. Trey, are there any things that you're using at Loft in particular that you feel great about, that you're confident about, that you could share just around utilizing these productivity tools and kind of innovating remotely, if you will?
Yeah. We tried to take a page from the Basecamp playbook when we started our business, and partly because we had to. 4 of our co-founders are up in Michigan, 2 of us are down here in the Triad. So, we sort of had to be a remote first company from day one, and we've hired folks really all around the world as we've grown our team. We're primarily U.S. based. But we have actually an expat U.S. citizen working over in Southeast Asia who's on our team. So I guess it feels a little mundane to kind of talk about the tools that we use, because they're probably very basic tools for folks who are getting things done really in any way, whether it's in person or remotely. But we have our leadership teams. We're on the Google platform, so we just use Google Hangouts for our leadership team meetings and for sales check-in calls throughout the week and that sort of thing. Google Docs obviously is a great sort of ad hoc collaboration tool for just running a meeting, having a simple agenda that everybody can look at and add to as the meeting goes on. There's kind of I'm a pretty big opponent, I guess, of Slack. Everybody but the team is on Slack. Everybody on the team but me, and so I think they use that for a lot of quick ad hoc conversations. I just I tend to stay out of those, but I know a lot of folks have enjoyed that platform or have found a similar platform that allows for kind of that ephemeral kind of passing conversations around either a series of topics or I know the different channels can kind of organize the way you talk. But,
right.
Yeah.
Great. Mary Carr, how about you? Any thoughts on some of the tools that you've been using?
Maybe not necessarily the tools that I've personally been using, but when I think about some of the conversations I've been having with my customers, and as they talk about investing in digital technologies and platforms, it's becoming more of a necessity rather than this far-fetched luxury that we wanted to use and wanted to be involved in. So I just think that internally, and as you're talking about your consumers, staying relevant to them. I heard a stat the other day, and it was 47% of revenue is going to be generated by digital technologies and digital platforms. And so I think it's important to think about which of those platforms and what of those technologies are going to be important for your business to foster growth. That's within your internal team, and that's externally as well. And again, those customers are driving the platforms that you decide. They want relevant content delivered to them. They want things that, where they are, what they're doing on a device of their choosing and things like that. So I think it's just really important to make sure that you have really good, network evolution, digital business, and that you're focusing a lot within the analytics space too, so that you can be there for your customers wherever they are and create meaningful experiences for them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We often talk about voice of the customer in our world, right? As we employ many consultants throughout the market, 350 here in the Greensboro area. We talk about voice of the consultant and really understanding what is it that they need, what is it that they're looking for. And it's been exciting to see as our organization has evolved and launched new products specific to the consultant community as well as the customer community is always really exciting. One of the things that we hear our consultants talk about all the time is transparency of their assignments, of their contract, the length of their assignment, when is it going to end, being called about relevant or irrelevant opportunities, and some of the new technology that we've released to them is really just that, allowing them to self-serve, allowing them to access that information. We still want that human touch. We still need that personal interaction, but the tools are enabling that and enhancing those relationships. Anything to share just from your perspective, Trey, around voice of the customer, voice of the consultant? I know Marty mentioned it in his presentation as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of Marty's closing thoughts was sort of around the idea of just keeping your eye on the ultimate goal of a given project, or in the case of the broader business, why you exist as a business. And you guys have done a great job serving both your customers and your consultants. I mean, both of whom are key to what you do. I think what we've tried to do at Loft is really make sure that our customers understand that in a time of great change like this, one of maybe the most valuable roles we can have is in supporting and maintaining the status quo that was good enough until 3 or 4 months ago, and doing that in a way that basically frees up entire teams, or at least sets of resources within an organization, to then go focus on the future. And so I think the more an organization is able to give their internal team clear direction about strategically where their business is going to fit into some unknown future, 1, 3, 5 years down the road, the more you can empower an internal team who really understands your company culture to do that, the better. And whether it's through augmented staffing and some of the other services you guys provide, or like I said, our ability to maintain and optimize what exists so that an internal team can really dream and focus on the future is a pretty powerful combination.
Right, wonderful. So I know I don't have a lot of visibility, honestly, into to some of the sessions that are taking place tomorrow. I don't know if either of you do by chance, and if so, I welcome you to comment.
Yeah, I've looked at some of the sessions that are going on tomorrow. We're still talking about innovation and ways to grow innovation, and ways to dive deep into innovation. A lot of ways that can shift your mindset when you talk about growth and things like that. So that's kind of the gist of tomorrow. So I encourage you to approach the day with a growth mindset, and think about some of the things that you can do to adopt and own some of that change that's going on in this world. So
great, wonderful. I don't know where we're at in time, but sounds like we may be close. Any last thoughts, Trey?
I guess the big thought that I've been kicking around for the past few months, I heard Toby Lutke, the CEO of Shopify, articulate this first, and maybe someone said it before him, but I've heard him say it a few other times since. It's this idea that we're currently living in 2030, but we're doing it with 2020 technologies and 2020 habits and patterns and behaviors. And the big thing I've been thinking about, both as a business owner, entrepreneur, and as someone who wants to serve a pretty big and diverse group of clients and customers, is sort of okay, if we've suddenly accelerated to what the world was going to be like in 2030, in terms of just not only remote work, which we've mentioned a few times, but Toby Lutke of Shopify coming from a perspective of suddenly essentially every business that had a storefront now has an online presence, where 4 or 5 or 6 months ago that number was much lower, and all the different ways that we've kind of accelerated ahead a decade. It's going to be really interesting to me to see how we regress backwards towards 2020, as it's going to be this kind of weird time warp where we're living in the future, but we have all these current technologies and patterns. And as the future unfolds over the next 3 months to say year, and some new normal emerges, we're going to have the luxury, if we want, to just kind of proceed to the path we were on in 2020. And it may take us a long time, it may take us a whole 10 years to get to 2030. But if we learn some lessons, some hard lessons through all this turmoil, we might be able to accelerate ourselves and find ourselves living I don't know, in sort of 27, 28 world, but doing that 4 or 5 years early. So that's exciting and interesting to me to think about, and that's probably one of the big things that's been on my mind for the past couple months.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And that may be a great place to leave it. And hopefully, as we wrap up here, everybody is walking away thinking about really what you're doing as an individual, what you're doing as an organization to embrace this ever-changing digital world that we're living in. So thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you to Rob, and enjoy the rest of your time.